In this video, we're going to go over a concept related to marketing called the CREATES framework. Clearly, CREATES is an acronym standing for, in this case, consistency, repetition, emotion, attention, time, experience, and storytelling. So the CREATES framework is really a framework used by really successful brands. So you can think like Coke is a good example of this. The first point, consistency, is more or less just it's best practice to be consistent in the use of brand assets. So, right, think of Coke's logo. They haven't changed Coke's logo since probably the late 1900s, right? Or over that period of time, it's barely changed. It's stayed very, very consistent over time. So, don't try to mess with the logo, the mascot, the badge, the color palette, the use of typographies, the brand tone of voice, etc. All the contents of what makes up the brand, be consistent in its use. The second part of the CREATES framework is repetition. More or less, the practical application of that is to show consumers the same brand assets hundreds of times, right? It's going to take a repetition for that to soak in to the customer's mind and into their conscience, right? Third is emotion, where it's best practice to create marketing with, some form of emotion, right? That's core to how humans communicate, how they understand each other, how they communicate to one another. So a good example of this, not really related to Coke, you can think of how Coke implements emotions into their ads and storytelling, etc. But like the Gerber baby is one thing that I think of when I think of emotion, right? When you think of Gerber, you think of like that smiling little cute baby that's like smiling back at you, right? Part of their brand identity in a sense. So that's the point in regards to emotion is effectively try to communicate emotion in context of ads. And one really consistent use of this is like marketing containing happy, smiling people creates positive emotional connection, right? That's really consistent in lots of different companies' use of emotion within their marketing. Is oftentimes they're trying to include happy, smiling people because in a sense, it's allowing the viewer to feel that way too, right? Or at least imagining themselves receiving the benefits of the product or service in a way that they feel the same way. Fourth thing is attention. Really, in this regard, we want to have easy to see brand assets, especially in context of wherever it's placed, right? We don't want to be including the brand assets in places where it overwhelms the viewer. We want their attention to be easily, focused on our easy to see brand assets and not be confused with the other things that might be around in context of wherever it's placed. Fifth, I believe, is time and frequency, really. This is just saying that it's better, it's more efficacious, has a higher efficacy to have a steady drip approach over time than bombarding the viewer with the brand assets, right? We need to give people time and space to digest whatever they've seen. Kind of an auxiliary point to this is the spacing effect, right? This says more or less that branding is more memorable when it's seen spread out over time and not over short bursts of activity, right? So we shouldn't be expecting to advertise once or over a short period of time, and we can't really judge that accordingly, right? It has to be over a long enough period of time to really get a grasp of how it went, right? We need to be more or less consistent in its use and spread the usage out more or less over time because it's going to have higher success if we can drip that customer with the brand assets or with any of our advertising than bombarding them all at once, right? Fifth or sixth, I think, whatever, is experience. How we can use this is, right, take the time to educate prospects and customers, right? If we're there on site, try to point things out in regards to, observations we might make and professional recommendations that we might give according to the observations we're making. Anytime we have a chance to be in person, right, great opportunity to educate that prospect. Even over the phone, we can do this to an extent through the observations that they're describing, right? We can educate that customer about the different services that we provide and the things that they are observing that, we have special professional experience with. So therefore, we can give them recommendations and try to educate them in the process. The last point for the storytelling, the CREATES framework is storytelling, right? This is just how humans communicate from the dawn of time till today, right? From caveman days to hieroglyphics to Disney movies, right? Humans connect and communicate through storytelling, right? So that's the CREATES framework, standing again for consistency, repetition, emotion, attention, time, and frequency, experience, and storytelling. So try to implement that into any of the marketing that we do, some of the tips that come from the Creates framework.